One of the worst things you can do for your health is consume a diet high in processed sugars and starches. You see, these foods will spike your blood sugar and insulin levels, leading to weight gain, fatigue, brain fog, trouble sleeping, joint pain, skin aging, heart disease, and more. Many people turn to artificial sweeteners, which theoretically don't impact your blood sugar or insulin levels and are touted as safe for diabetics and others looking for improved metabolic health. Unfortunately, virtually all of these artificial sweeteners, including NutraSweet, which uses aspartame, and Splenda, which uses sucralose, these are all chemical-based agents that damage the microbiome and the nervous system, and they only increase inflammatory conditions in the body. So they're really no better, if not worse, for you than processed sugar. But there are several good natural sweeteners that are not synthetically derived, but instead come from nature and don't increase your blood sugar and insulin levels. The most popular natural sweeteners include stevia, monk fruit, and sugar alcohols. But many people have noticed issues with gas, bloating, and other problems using these sugar alternatives. A newer natural sweetener has emerged with compelling research behind it, and many functional and alternative health experts believe it may be the best natural sweetener. The sweetener I'm talking about is allulose. In this video, you will learn what allulose is, where it comes from, how it impacts our blood sugar and insulin levels, what health benefits may come from using it, and how to use it properly in recipes and in baking. I'll also go over some key pointers on how to use it properly. So let's start with understanding really what allulose is. It's a monosaccharide, which means that it's a simple sugar and it's similar to fructose in structure. Fructose is what we find in all your different fruits, right? That's the common sugar in fruits, as well as things like corn. Now, allulose can be naturally found in maple syrup, molasses, figs, raisins, and jackfruits. So it's in several different dietary sources. It tastes very similar to regular sugar and has a very similar texture, but here's the caveat. It has about 90% fewer calories and very little impact on your blood sugar. And that makes allulose a potentially good option for those watching their weight because it's a low glycemic and keto-friendly option. It's also safe for diabetics as it doesn't significantly raise your blood sugar and insulin levels compared to table sugar. You can also replace it in recipes that call for sugar in an easy one-to-one swap, and it works great for baking, although you do have to adjust for oven temperature and baking time as allulose cooks faster. So it actually caramelizes and browns faster. So we recommend reducing the baking temperature by 25 to 50 degrees and the overall baking time by about 10%. So if a recipe said, cook for 30 minutes at 450 degrees or 400 degrees, if it was 400 degrees, you would reduce it down to about 375 or 350. And if it was 30 minutes, you'd take it down to about 27 minutes. That way it cooks properly without over caramelizing and over baking. So one of the things about allulose is about 70% of it doesn't actually get absorbed into your bloodstream. It actually just gets metabolized and taken out through your urine. Most artificial and natural sugars, they get fermented in the gut, but allulose doesn't. And that means it may lead to a lower risk of gastrointestinal upset. So again, a lot of sugar alcohols, they're causing a lot of issues with bloating and gas. I know for me, erythritol or xylitol, I just don't do well with. I get gas, I get bloating when I consume it because of the fermentation. Whereas with allulose, there's very little fermentation that takes place. So you would need really high doses in order to have that same effect. And so there might be some people that still experience it, but it's extremely rare. That's been kind of the anecdotal evidence and also shown in research is that most people tolerate it really, really well without any of these kind of sensitivities. There's about 2% of our society that still will struggle with allulose. And of course, for that 2%, I would recommend avoiding it. But for about 98% of the population, they're gonna be able to consume allulose, not have a negative effect on blood sugar or insulin levels, and not have the gas and bloating. And so let's go into the benefits of allulose. Of course, I talked about blood sugar, super important. Allulose has a low glycemic index. And that means when you consume it, your blood sugar really doesn't move much, right? It doesn't go way up and doesn't increase a lot of insulin. It actually helps protect the pancreatic beta cells, which play a key role in producing insulin. According to a 2023 systematic review and meta-analysis, so the gold standard of research, it was in PLOS ONE journal, taking 5 grams or 10 grams of allulose reduced postprandial, so that means post-meal glucose levels. So it actually reduced it, suggesting it may be a great option for managing blood sugar levels. Allulose has also been shown to keep insulin levels down, because you might see your blood sugar stay the same, but if your insulin goes way up, that high insulin is going to end up leading to insulin resistance. It's going to stop fat burning. It's going to end up causing metabolic problems. So you want something that doesn't increase blood sugar a lot, but also doesn't increase insulin, and allulose really fits right into that. It keeps your blood sugar and insulin stable, and that allows your body to burn fat for fuel. And that helps you burn through dangerous visceral fat, the kind of fat that surrounds your organs and causes more inflammation in your body. And so by being able to burn that, it's going to help you be healthier, have less inflammation, and maintain a healthy body weight. Also, allulose has been shown to support liver health. Some animal studies have shown that it protects the liver and helps the body to metabolize dangerous fat around your liver. According to a 2021 study published in the journal Function, allulose helped to alter liver metabolites in a positive way, including metabolites that are involved with fat burning, cholesterol synthesis, and bile acid production. So it actually helps stimulate thinner bile, okay, so that was key, and better fat burning and improving HDL levels, right, the good cholesterol. It also improves gut health. Unlike other sugar alternatives like sugar alcohols like erythritol, for example, allulose appears to interact with beneficial gut bacteria. So good gut bacteria like your bifidobacter, your lactobacillus, okay, those types of your Akkermansia, they actually interact with allulose, and they actually metabolize allulose and create healthy short-chain fatty acids, these healthy postbiotics that help reduce inflammation and support the intestinal cell mitochondria. So in particular, allulose consumption increases butyric acid, which is one of the most powerful postbiotic compounds that helps maintain gut barrier function and lowers the risk of metabolic issues linked to gut dysbiosis. In a 2023 study published in the Journal of Functional Foods, allulose helped to improve intestinal barrier function and reduce leaky gut syndrome. That's huge, guys, because when we create a stronger, healthier intestinal lining, that is going to reduce inflammation. That means you're going to have less inflammation. That means you're going to have more energy, less joint pain, better libido, better mental clarity, right? Better hormone function. Super important. So that's very positive news. It's one of the main reasons why functional health practitioners are big fans of allulose. Like in general, I like stevia as a good natural sweetener, but the research on stevia, the health benefits of it are just not as compelling, although there are some good benefits, not as compelling as the health benefits of allulose. So how do we use allulose? Allulose has a very similar taste and texture to table sugar, and that's actually good. That means it can be used similarly to table sugar and be an excellent substitute. So if you're converting a recipe, it's really easy. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. All you have to do is reduce the baking time and the baking temperature, which I'll touch on again shortly. So you can use allulose in just about anything, including sauces, syrups, dressings, baked goods. You can find granulated and liquid versions depending on your needs. Allulose is also a common ingredient in sugar-free processed foods, including things like frozen yogurts, ice cream, cookies, pastries, other baked goods, cereal bars, candy, pudding, salad dressing, syrup, and sauces. You're going to see it all over the place, especially as it becomes more popular. You're starting to see it pop up. We're going to see it over the next 5 years just be used more and more because the research is more compelling, and so there's going to be more consumer demand, which is going to drive down the cost. Right now, the cost is still a little bit high, so as the consumer demand goes up, the cost will come down over time. But you still have to be careful with those kind of processed foods, right? So in general, we want to focus on real foods and less processed foods. So, those processed foods may not contain table sugar, but you got to remember they're still processed foods and they still may result in other health risks. So always read the ingredient list. Try to opt for whole foods and homemade options instead of packaged products. Now, allulose is made through an enzymatic conversion primarily from fructose that can be found in things like corn, wheat, and sugar beets. And so some of the sources out there may be genetically modified. And that's why I recommend when you're looking for allulose, look for an organic allulose source. That is going to tell you that there's not going to be pesticides, herbicides, GMOs, things like that associated with it. So I have a few good options with links in the description of this video or podcast. So if you're listening to this on podcast or you're watching the video, check the description box or the show notes, and I'll have links for organic allulose sources. Now, my general take on natural sweeteners, whole food sourced, ideally, right? So it should be something not just derived in a lab, but actually comes from a whole, real food. That's the problem with aspartame and Splenda. They're derived specifically in a lab. Like there's no whole food source there. Whereas stevia, monk fruit, as well as sugar alcohols and allulose are all whole foods. They start with an actual food, right? They start with fructose from a food, or they start with actually stevia, the stevia leaf, right? Or the monk fruit itself, and then they pull it from that. So it starts with a whole food. You also want one that has a low risk of side effects or digestive complaints. So that rules out a lot of your sugar alcohols, because for a lot of people, there are some people that do great with sugar alcohols, right? So I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's about 50% of the population, they don't have digestive problems when they consume sugar alcohols. The other 50% has a lot of digestive problems. I do. And so I avoid sugar alcohols. I stick with stevia, monk fruit, and allulose, which I don't have any digestive issues with. And they have positive nutritional benefits, and they have benefits for the gut microbiome. So they actually help support my microbiome. So that's the key there. Now remember, when you're using allulose, you do want to make sure that you're adjusting. If you're using it for baking, you want to make sure you're adjusting the cooking time 25 to 50 degrees lower if you're doing a one-to-one substitute with sugar. So if you're baking cookies and it calls for, a cup of sugar, you use a cup of allulose. And then if the recipe says 425, you bring the temperature down to, let's say, 400 degrees. Okay, and then you cook it for about 10% less time. So if it's a 30-minute recipe, you cook it for 27 minutes. If you do that, you're gonna do great with it, and allulose can be really beneficial. So guys, I would love to hear your experience with allulose. Leave it in the comments, or you can always email us at info@drjockers.com so we can learn more about your experience using a lot of the products we recommend, including allulose. And so please share this with somebody that you know and that you care about, and we'll see you in a future video training. Be blessed.